This is the Outback Way Podcast, proudly sponsored by our HEMA Guidebook and Atlas.
Welcome to the Outback Way Podcast. I am Helen Lewis. Buckle up as we take you on Australia's longest shortcut, a journey through the heart of Australia. Welcome to the Outback Way Podcast. I'm Helen Lewis, the General Manager, and I am honoured to speak to Patrick Hill, the Chairman of the Outback Highway Development Council today, in regards to the actual establishment and initiation of the entire Outback Way project, way back in 1997. Patrick, welcome.
Hello everyone, and Helen, yes, today.
And so Patrick, you need to just allow this massive project across Australia, 2,700 kilometres, and it's currently being sealed. It's been 20 years in the making. So what was the very start of, what even, I guess, conjured up the idea of the need for a road around Laverton in Western Australia? That would be great to hear your story.
Okay, well, I grew up in the bush out in the station, and I learnt through the numerous, difficulties in accessing roads and that in the bush. We valued what a road was, and then we moved from the station into Laverton in 1974 and worked on the mines there for a while, and then I got involved in council in 1992. And from there, the reason why I got on council was I heard the concept of putting a roadhouse about 4 kilometres out of Laverton on the junction of the original Great Central Road and Lansfield turn-off. Anyway, that would have cut Laverton straight off. And growing up in the mining industry where it was seen boom and bust, what we needed, Laverton needed something else to keep it economically survive. So, so what we did when the mining finished in 1994, we had to look at some other options to keep Laverton viable, because there was rumours all going around that it was going to turn into a ghost town. So by that time I got onto council, and then we'd put the idea off of, rebuilding the roadhouse out of the town. So we looked at other options, and the other option was to upgrade the road through the desert to Warburton and on to Ayers Rock. And we then, on council, I went over to the Australian Local Government Conference in Canberra in 1994 and saw the option there that, talked to various councils in New South Wales and Queensland about the option of putting the road right across Australia. So from that time, then in 1995 and 1996, I took a motion from the Shire Laverton to the Australian Local Government Conference calling on the Australian Local Government to assist the Shire of Laverton in raising funds to upgrade the road from Laverton out to the Northern Territory border and up onto Ayers Rock and Alice Springs. And from that got unanimous support in both those years. And in 1997, we got together with the councils, and Bullier and Winton came forward and said, look, we'd like to see you, we'd like to engage and work with you to develop this road, because originally I had the road going straight across from Earl Dunder, which is a junction of the Lassiter Highway and the Stewart Highway, straight across to Brisbane. And Bullier and Winton came forward, and with that we had our first Australian AGM for the Outback Highway Development Council in Canberra in 1997. And from there, since then, we've been lobbying, and basically it was set up as a lobby group on behalf of the 5 councils involved there, which was Winton, Bullier, Laverton and Nanajaraku and the town of Alice Springs. And since then we've been a lobby group for them, and obviously the track we sort of took was to try and raise the awareness of it was in tourism, because tourism's a big thing. Obviously if you do tourism right in these towns, it improves every year, and that's what we want to see. So that's one of the main reasons why we did it. Plus, there's lots of other reasons. Access to the Central Desert region out in West Australia. We had at one stage there a request from the Nanajaraku Shire Council to take over the Great Central Road, because we couldn't afford to do, the Shire of Laverton couldn't afford to keep the maintenance up on one stage. But then we got together with the West Australian Minister for Transport at the time, Eric Charlton, and got him up there on the road. And this is right back in about 1995. And he saw the need for that road to be upgraded. So with the West Australian Government's support, that's when we took the motions to the Australian local government in Canberra. So it's really developed from there, from the need for the road to the Central Deserts, the need to boost tourism in the Northern Goldfields, and another product of tourism across Australia.
That's fantastic, Patrick, and what a story. And also just the effort and tenacity of the committee, I think, is highlighted. And I guess the importance of that community ownership of the project. Are there any stories about that community engagement that you've got and encouraging the communities along the route to get excited? Because this road actually, it was linked to existing roads, and all that's happening is the road is actually being upgraded. So there was no new road really developed. There's been realignments, but there's been no new roads. So all the communities are well established along all the route. And so have you had your experiences with talking to the communities and some of their responses to the idea of the road being sealed?
Yeah, I could tell you a couple of stories like that. Yeah, first of all, when we first met, when Winter and Bully, Shire met with ourselves, the Talent and the Mayor of Alice Springs at the time, we realised that we were all people from the bush, and we're all in the same circumstances. We're all dealing with the same circumstances: isolation, lack of funds, distances, and just you need to group together in the bush to get things done. And this is, I think, why this has been so productive in getting where we are today, because we're all the same sort of people going for the same thing and understand what we're trying to achieve. Like a couple of stories there. We went obviously with our trips to Canberra. When we first went over there, I used to go to they used to have a gala night, obviously in the Great Hall of or the Parliament House, the Great Hall in Parliament House there, and I used to go to that all the time and use that to go from table to table, meeting with the ministers to try and get them to recognise the Outback Way and try to get that connection and do something about it and put some money on it. Anyway, when that finished one night, we all went back to our rooms at the Canberra International there, and anyway, everyone, all the chaps' wives were there, and they all went to bed and all come down to my room, so we all sat there talking about it, and one of the Queensland mates, they said, you might have bring a few mates in. Anyway, they're talking, and we started to get a bit, I suppose, not argumentative, but a bit, it was a little bit argumentative. At one stage, they talked about the Republic, and because that was a motion on the books at the conference next day. Anyway, I said about 2 o'clock in the morning, everyone to get out of the room, all these chaps, were talking. Anyway, I got up there next morning. We went up with Ian Nicol, the president of the Shire of Esperence, and Preston Thomas to meet this opposition minister for transport. And anyway, I walked in the room, I looked down at the newsletter, and here's his face. I think that face looks familiar. Anyway, I get down the door, and it was Senator Ian McDonald, and I had him there in the room that night before. He's got a bigger step than I did, and he's never forgot that ever since this day. And he said, I've never forget that day, the shock, that we argued so much. But the other time that was really classic. It was funny that the way it happened. But the other time was I attended a meeting with our President Murray Thomas and Steve Decker, our CEO at Laverton, to Warranted, a community meeting at Warranted to discuss a native title claim. And we needed to discuss it because we had roads going through the native title claim that the people that manage our lands had lodged. Anyway, we were in a room of about 40 people, all residents from Warburton, and anyway, I started explaining, that we want to like to do the road up, and with their consultation, and keep doing it up and make it all safe for them to go to town, and we wanted to put a centre line through and get it redesigned, and make it a bit shorter. Anyway, a couple of old ladies down the other end there had these big Kimberley hats on, these Aboriginal elders, and one bloke said across the table, "What's that white fella say over there?" Anyway, he said that the other bloke across the table said, that white fella, you want to fix that road up to Bevan, and then you want to make the road straight so that old people can't fall off the back of the ute when they go to Laverton. And talk about laughing. That's the way.
That's a great
but
story.
That's how it feels to them. The different aspects and ways this road affects people in Central Australia, it's really unique in itself. And
yeah, that's right.
We don't want people falling.
And I had the same experience.
That's the last thing we want.
And I had the same experience with Daisy at Warranted last year when we did our media for Mill, and the elation when she found out that I was on the Outback Way and we were up, and I was involved in the, getting it upgraded. She was just beside herself. She came and gave me this biggest spontaneous hug. She said this means so much to our community. And so it is really, really important for the communities and the people who are living in such isolated and remote areas. It's a fantastic asset for them, and it will change the way they live, which will be great. It's great, Patrick. And
hopefully it's better.
And Patrick, so you intimated to me earlier that you had to upgrade a desert track. So what was the story behind actually, realigning or getting that desert track so it didn't bypass Laverton? What was that story?
Once Eric Charlton came up, what happened, we used, we wanted to get the Transport Minister up to Laverton to recognise this road and get the state government to put more emphasis on it, more funding into it. So it was David Carnegie's anniversary, 100-year anniversary back in 1996 when November 1996 it was, when we asked Eric Charlton to come up and have a look at the road and unveil a plaque commemorating the 100 years of David Carnegie through the outback of West Australia there. So anyway, with that, Eric Charlton came up and gave the state government put the funding forward to design a centre line right through from Laverton right through to the Northern Territory border. But the centre line actually started off from a bypass road that sort of took us from Laverton 4 kilometres out of Laverton. This was the initial place where that motel proposal was and service station was put up, which would have killed Laverton. Anyway, so I thought, well, when we got on, we need to bring that road right through the centre of town, and that's the only way. The Outback Way kind of starts from Laverton. Anyway, so yes, it was over between Christmas and New Year. That a few of the lads with a bit of machinery that I had, we put it through. It was an old existing track. It was an old horse and grey track that went out of Laverton straight north of Laverton and put it in. But prior to that, the idea of it was put up. There were about three concepts put up. The council to where to put this road in. One was about 50k out of Laverton, another one was about 20k out, and the other one was out up this whole existing Crawford Soak Road. But the Crawford Soak Road got approved by council, but then that went a couple of years before council. They didn't do anything about it. So this is a long time before I got on council. But anyway, we put it through. Anyway, it's there through, so and today it's a beautiful sealed road. So the road goes right through the centre of town. So that's what initiated. I don't know,
Well, what you can do in a Christmas holiday.
Exactly. You can do wonders if you want to.
That's right. That's a fantastic story. Yeah, just the fact that you just decided that it was, something had to be done so that Laverton actually got the benefit for and that's the whole purpose of the route is to actually enhance and grow and develop these communities along the road. So that's really
right.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good.
These little outback towns like Laverton, Boulia, Winton, Warburton, and Winton, we need that. We need that economic input from tourism and any opportunity that we can get, whether it be mining tourism or people just living in the towns. Living in the towns, their whole survival, is paramount to the economic income that they get. And as I said before, this road going through the centre of the place, of the towns, it provides economic input into them, which keeps them all going and offers business opportunities for them and a whole range of things. So it's good.
Yeah. And what's your vision? What's your ultimate vision for the Outback Way, Patrick? And on completion of a sealed route from coast to coast across Australia, what do you see happening? What's your vision of that?
Well, I want to see it part of the national highway system and across Australia, and that's the ultimate aim for it. And right back when we formed the Outback Highway Development Council in 1997, we called it the Outback Highway, Note Highway Development Council, and we've maintained that name because that's exactly what we want to see this road to become, a highway right across, diagonally across Australia. And the thing is about it, when the first amount of money for the federal government came in 2005, the $10 million, which was matched by the state and territories, to get that funding, we weren't allowed to call it a highway. We had to break it down to the Outback Way and to receive the funding because of the fact that you've got the gun barrel highway and it's just a track. So international people get confused at that. So with that, but the name Outback Way is good now. It's stuck and it might be maintained at that, but we want to see it part of the national highway system. That's the vision of that we want to see.
And flourishing communities and just enormous amounts of increased economic development in inland Australia, really. That's an ultimate option, isn't it? Yeah. That's great.
Yes,
excellent.
That's right.
Oh, no, that's terrific. In Laverton, you've got lots of attractions. So what have you got for people to have a look at in Laverton at the moment? You've got your various your visitor centre and things?
Yeah, so the Outback Highway Development Council, when it started, we needed to get numbers on the road, and one of the options that the Outback Highway Development Council has taken to get to try and obviously you need numbers on the road to justify the expenditure of sealing the road. So we took the tourism, we took it to tourism marketing. We included that in the Outback Highway scope of what we try and do, as well as lobbying for funding for the road. And one of those things was, I joined the Australian Golden Outback tourism organisation in West Australia, and still maintaining myself on the board on that, as a board member on that today. And one of those things was I attended a Australian Tourism Exchange conference in Melbourne, some about 6-7 years ago now. And then I learned so much at that, where I went with Jack Earbeck, the CEO of Australia's Golden Outback at the time, and we just launched our integrated tourism plan, which included the Outback Way Atlas. And just with that, we had about 3 or 4 minutes, each of us, every 12 minutes for 4 days, we had a different organisation involved in tourism internationally coming to the table and talking about our products. And how I promoted the Outback Way was people could land in Queensland, experience a Great Barrier Reef, grab a Avis car or a Hertz car or a camper, whatever they could get hold of, and travel across Australia, across the Outback Way. They travel out to Longreach and experience the Stockman's Hall of Fame and the Qantas Museum, and experience the pastoral industry. On to Winton, where they experience the Banjo-Patterson years, or the early colonialism of Australia, and how that was built, along with the Royal Farm Doctor Museum there at Winton, and numerous other attractions. There's a dinosaurs museum they've got there also, and it's huge, the attractions around Winton. And then on to Boulia, you've got the Unexplained in the Desert, where you've got the Min Min Light, and well-known old Slim Dusty's song, the Min Min Light, and that's unique. There's a unique centre there explaining that, the Min Min Light. And then on to Alice Springs, you've got the Transport Hall of Fame, and the School of the Air, obviously, and the telecommunications there, which gives you an insight into the difficulty of telecommunications in Outback Australia, and the environmental part, which reflects on the environment side of it in Outback Australia. Then you go down to Ayers Rock and Illaroo. They're unique in themselves. And on to Warburton, where you've got the Aboriginal Cultural Centre and the glass-making products that they do there. It's absolutely fantastic for those people out there. And then down to Laverton, where we've got the Explorers Centre, where we reflect on what the explorers did for Outback Australia, and the Great Beyond Visitor Centre, which was named for the Great Beyond in reference to that was what the explorers were doing all the time, going up on the sandhill and looking to the Great Beyond to see what was out there, to see explain the country. Then on to Lenore and Goya, which is where Herbert Hoover, the former president of the United States, was mine manager. And then under Kalgoorlie, we've got the super pit and the mining reflection. So the Outback Way connects all those aspects that built and developed Outback Australia. And one of the things, as I say, in Laverton, what we've got there is the Great Beyond Visitor Centre, a number of mines all around the area. We've got a lot of prospecting coming in there during the year. And also we have the only structure that R.M. Williams built in West Australia at the Mount Margaret Mission, which is a tank which that community still survives on today, a water tank there that he built there right back in the early...
that's extraordinary. That's extraordinary history.
In the late 50s. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
He came across from South Australia and built that.
Really, the whole entire route captures, who made Australia, really.
Yeah,
the who's
exactly.
who of who made Australia. And I think that's it showcases, I guess, the courage and the commitment to development of Australia with the people who've traversed the road and lived on the road and made it what it is today. It's just amazing. Thank you for your time, Patrick. Really appreciate it. And it's great to hear what started the Outback Way and how it's progressed and really just the value of a project of this significance coming from the ground up. And I think that's why it's a winner and that's why it's working so well. So well done and thank you very much.
No, thanks, Helen. There's one thing I'd like to say is we just wish that travellers have a good, safe trip right across Australia. And, when they're travelling across it and support our towns, that's what we're all there for, to try and help and make your journey as best as possible and most enjoyable as possible, and to experience the Outback. And yes, to the committee and everyone involved there, and yourself, Helen, hard-working people that have made this thing possible for it to all happen. So thanks, everyone. We wish you all the best for the trip, and we look forward to seeing you on the road, whether it be in Laverton or Bully or Winton, wherever we may see you. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Patrick. And for all our listeners, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and as well as look up our website, outbackway.org.au. And until next time, keep safe and enjoy exploring Australia.
The Outback Way podcast is all about your trip. We're really trying to make it easier for you and give you valuable information to make it more enjoyable. So we'd love your feedback. Send your questions, comments and travel stories to info@outbackway.org.au. And if you share your story, we may even feature you on this podcast. Thank you for joining us through the heart of Australia on Australia's longest shortcut. Cheers for now.